So hi there, guys. I'm here today with Thomas Clark from Meet Mosaic on YouTube. He has honestly a very niche kind of category in terms of YouTube and Facebook. He has an autistic carnivores Facebook group as well, and there's not many of us, but I'm delighted to speak to him today. He is a carnivore autistic athlete, as in he, weights, bodybuild, does weights, bodybuilds, everything like that. So I thought I'd bring him on today and just I'll let him introduce himself.
Well, thanks for having me. I know you and I have been going back and forth on social media about all kinds of posts, and it's really nice to actually get to sit down and talk to you. So we're fortunate we can do this from across the pond, right?
Mm, I agree.
So yeah, now it's been good having you in the Autistic Carnivores group. That's kind of my passion group. I wanted to help build a community where people could share information and help each other out. And there's a lot of people are just curious. Autism is kind of one of those things where people do try other diets to see if they can get improvements, because autistic people, some for some reason, are notorious for having digestive issues on top of everything else, and anxiety is a really common problem. So and a lot of people do the GAPS diet or something like that, and then we find that they make improvements on diets like that, but then oftentimes they come to carnivore and it's even better. you know
Mm,
People tend to be calmer and more focused. A lot of the relatively nonverbal people actually have a easier time engaging people and talking. As you probably noticed, the anxiety levels go down, which tends, I think it just frees up more resource, more brain space when you're not constantly overstimulated by your anxiety or your environment or whatever. Then you just have more brain power to engage, because a lot of autistic people are very intellectually developed, but they have a tough time communicating, or they have a tough time coping with their environment or whatever. And so they tend not to engage with other people, or they tend to be preoccupied with their discomfort, you know, or their suffering as it is. And seems as though switching your diet to carnivore has helped a lot of people be more comfortable, have a higher quality of life. People you get the question all the time, does it cure autism? And it's like, well, I don't think anybody's claiming it cures autism. It just alleviates a lot of the symptoms, right? And for me, it's always about quality of life. It's like, doesn't matter whether something's cured or not. And that's a rabbit hole you never want to go down.
mm.
Because people argue about what a cure, or fixing the problem actually is. And I look at it as the constellation of symptoms and mediating the negative symptoms, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's anyone that is autistic will say, there's pros and cons to it. Pros depends what your traits are as an individual. For me, I'm hyper analytical. Um, I'm quite I'm quite good at communication for someone that is autistic. Not perfect, but I'm also very good at masking things and mirroring someone else's behavior. So I'd like to think I'm in a good space, like socially and mentally, so I can mirror behaviors and almost like match what the environment is like around me. So I like to keep positive people around me. So that's key for me, I think. You said it was well about the digestive issues. Yeah, I mean, I'm someone that has always had bloating, discomfort. I never really mentioned it because everyone seems to have it. Everyone's got a sore stomach, oh, I'm constipated, oh, I've got the runs, whatever it is. And we've just normalized it. But the fact is, we don't have to live like that. And it is not a normal action of our body to be producing. So I'm glad you touched on that as well. So, in regards to autism, Thomas, how has the carnivore diet helped you?
Well, I'd say probably the most significant thing related to autism is just the lowering of anxiety. I didn't even know I had, an anxiety disorder, or I didn't know I wasn't diagnosed till I was in my late 30s, and I'm 51 now. and got diagnosed, and they're like, well, here's some anxiety medication, good luck. And then they let you free in the wild. And then so I actually just tried to meet as many people like myself as I could, and that's where my understanding of what my life had been like was suddenly explained. A lot of those mysteries were sort of resolved. And like you said, a lot of it is in social situations, you wind up copying somebody else's behaviors or actions that's more successful in a social setting, right? You kind of like, oh, that guy's really good at talking to people, or he's a good leader, or whatever, and you sort of mimic people to understand the things that aren't innately understood. Most people, it seems like they pick up the social mores and habits and just how to fit in. They just naturally adapt to it, right? They observe the pattern in other people and they try it out and they do it. And then a lot of that seems to be a mystery for people on the spectrum, because a lot of times it doesn't make any sense, right? You're doing something to go along that's not logical, and it's like, why am I doing this? How does this work? And then so I think that um fitting in with like I said, when you take away a lot of the stressors of everything from uh, digestive issues to anxiety and so on and so forth, you're free up more mental resources to make better observations. So that helps socially. I rarely went anywhere without somebody asking me to begging me or threatening me to go somewhere. And then, like, it was like a turning moment. I think it was back 2018. Sean Baker was doing a rowing competition. And I was like, I told my girlfriend, I was like, I want to go to that thing. I want to go film Sean do it. And she looked at me and she's like, you're going voluntarily to a sporting event in a crowded place with a bunch of strangers? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so I was becoming more social just because I think um everything was just getting easier to process, right? And then I've just gradually gotten more social since then. I mean, my early videos on YouTube, I didn't even want to appear on camera. I would narrate the little slides or pictures or whatever. And then as I started meeting people like yourself and started doing videos, it's like all of a sudden it was like there was no anxiety or fear or inclination to be you know I didn't want to be a hermit anymore. I was enjoying meeting people and stuff. As before, I shied away from it quite a bit. I didn't want to hang out with anybody I didn't already know really well. So
Mm,
that's been a big change for me socially. And probably a lot of it's anxiety centered, because the anxiety goes down, but also it's probably more just that my understanding of how to talk to and sort of communicate with other people and enjoy just talking to people has gone way up. So that socially, that's a major impact. I mean, physically, I had debilitating arthritis before all this started. Like, I like to tell the story that I woke up one morning, I couldn't turn the doorknob to get out of my bedroom because my hands were so bad. And I went from wanting to lift every day to I can't turn a doorknob, right? And
mm.
I not only couldn't lift anymore, I didn't know how I was going to make a living if it got worse. But fortunately, the arthritis went away pretty rapidly when I changed my diet. So
That's good to hear. Yeah, and what was great that you talked about was being able to fit in social settings. So I'm not someone that's ever liked loud noises, spaces with lots of people. I'm quite comfortable talking in this sort of situation. Um, but I'm getting better over time. I am able to speak to more people at once and not have this crippling anxiety and worry. And people say, well, "Why are you anxious?" It's just all in your head. It's not. As an autistic person, you do experience more sensory overload. Everything is amplified. And for you to explain that, or myself and Thomas to explain that to someone that doesn't have the same issues that we have, it's very difficult. For example, as I'm talking to Thomas right now, this will make him paranoid, but he's had very little eye contact during the whole conversation. And that's very typical. It's very normal. And I'm just the same. And it doesn't mean that he's not listening, but his way of absorbing what I'm saying is different to what someone else is. So, I think there needs to be a bit more awareness about autism. And, you know, myself and Thomas, we two people with different age groups, but we've both benefited from this diet. We've both have similar sort of experiences in regards to like autism, anxiety, and we're doing a lot better now. So there's clearly something here, and the gut brain connection. That's it's quite clear right now. I mean, there's people out there that eat high meat, which is basically rotting meat. It's been pickled in a jar for God knows how long, and it's got loads of bacteria in it. I'm not suggesting anyone tries it, but they eat that, and it restores a lot of their the bacteria within their gut. Then they feel high. There's
Mm.
clearly a link there. Again, I'm not saying anyone should try it. I've not tried it, but yeah,
Well,
that's how
if
people
you
go.
try it outside. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't think your loved ones will appreciate that very much. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, Thomas, was in regards to exercise performance. So you're someone like myself, you love to train. The idea of not training is, I've said in videos before, it's mentally quite damaging. So how's the diet affect your training, if at all? Has it got better, worse? What happened during the transition?
Yeah, so like I was saying, I had arthritis really bad, and that took me out of the gym for quite a while, probably like 7 or 8 years or something like that. And then I started learning about low carb and then keto, and then all of a sudden I was trying a keto and I was like, I just want to eat more meat, right? But I noticed that the digestive issues were better. And you ever try to work out and your stomach's like sloshing around, it's all bloated, and it's like you can't work out like that and feel and get a halfway decent workout. So that all goes away. But I I gradually just, ate higher and higher levels of protein, right? I've got plenty of body fat. I don't, it's not like I'm starving for fuel. So,
Mm.
and while everybody else is eating ribeyes and extra fat and, slurping down some tallow or whatever they do, I was like, nah, I got to eat. And then the other thing too is I eat more frequently, right? So, I was sheepishly telling people, nah, I got to eat like 4 or 5 times a day. You don't understand. And they're like, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that for whatever reason." Or, well, it shouldn't work. I shouldn't lift twice a day either, but I'm gonna do it anyways, right? So I gradually just was eating more and more meat, leaner and leaner cuts of meat, and I just felt better, And I noticed like I don't have any problem recovering from one workout to the next. I mean, I don't go in and work the same muscle group 3 days a row or something like that. Each group gets its day, but I will work the same group twice in one day, and I noticed that has kind of next leveled my progress, right? So more muscle, less body fat. So it's that sort of holy grail thing, and that routine where you are building muscle and gradually getting leaner, right?
Mm.
I don't have a competition, I don't have an end date. I just want to keep on cruising to the goal, right? Because I mean, who knows how much you can lift if you just keep lifting? Like it's there's no there's no known end point really, right?
Mm.
Till you die. So I just want to keep on going, and the diet sustains that. So I eat and I actually eat a lot of raw meat. I don't know if you probably noticed that by now, but the you mentioned high meat, and like the high liver does give you sort of that euphoric, energized sort of burst. I don't really know that it has any real benefits other than, like you said, maybe replenishing gut biome or something like that. But
Mm.
and I wouldn't recommend it either because it's pretty disgusting. So, but just eating plain raw steak, it gives you a little bit of that too. So I was just talking to this a guy I kind of coached yesterday, and he's like, yeah, I noticed like when I eat the raw steak that I get that sort of like energized, sort of euphoric feeling. And I was like, yeah, exactly. He's like, so that's why you do it. And well, imagine going into a workout feeling like that, right? And so it's not a huge advantage, but it is mentally. I mean, we've all had a day when got to the gym and we weren't feeling it. We're like, oh man, I don't know how we get to. And I almost never have a day like that anymore. Every time I'm there, I'm ready to go. I just want people to get out of my way because I can't wait. you know, and I do everything in very rapid succession. And I'm watching, people half my age sitting around staring at their phone, camping out. They do like what they do get like 3 sets in an hour or something. And I've done 6 or 7 exercises and I'm out the door before they're finished their first one. So
Yeah.
that's that to me, that is like the diet is giving me the ability to do exactly what I want to do in the very limited time that I have. Right.
Mm.
And I get a little bit of the usual muscle soreness, but I didn't get any significant pain of any kind. In spite of the fact that I've got torn shoulder, 2 bad discs. I had an accident where I tore all the soft tissue off my right hip and my ribs a while back. That used to bother me. There's a lot of scar tissue in there. I've got a rebuilt hand. I don't know if you can see the scars, but
Oh yeah.
I actually had a bullet go through my hand sideways and break all the bones.
Nice.
And there's a lot of scar tissue in there and a lot of bones that are kind of fused together with irregular sort of connections,
Mm.
and that used to bother me and it rarely bothers me anymore. So, all that the progressive I think what happened was when we were on a regular diet and we're eating, all kinds of plants and carbohydrates and stuff, I think our tissue quality goes down, and then it's harder for your body to repair joints and muscle tissue and tendons and everything. And then when you have sufficient amounts of amino acids from like ruminant animals and stuff like that, I think that the body just it can be working all the time to repair that tissue, right?
Mm.
And because that's the thing, I was late 30s early 40s, and I was this accumulation of injuries, right? I had sciatica really bad. I had a hand I had to be really careful with. My neck could go out every once in a while, especially doing squats. I don't know what it was about squats,
Yeah.
but the next day I'm like, I can't turn my head, all that kind of stuff. And that went away. And I think it's just putting the right, I mean, you could look at protein as a fuel, but it's primarily there to rebuild your body, right? And I think by having sufficient amounts of protein on board, your body, is able just to keep repairing all the damage. And
Yeah. I mean, what it seems to be that I notice is people can. I've said this in interviews with people before. Basically, everyone has an expiry date, and they have a tolerability of plant food, sugar, everything like that.
mm,
I mean, it might be that I can tolerate a lot of sugar in my diet and not suffer the ill effects of diabetes or anything like that. But it may negatively affect my gut microbiome and my digestive system. You
yeah.
know, there's so much more to just digestive system than just one thing. People don't think about that. And the carnivore diet is, as we know, an elimination diet, and by doing that, we do eliminate a lot of harmful or potentially harmful things. Um,
hmm
so touching
even
on,
just even just irritating things, right?
yeah, definitely, yeah, I agree that agree with that. Um, touching on like your workouts, what's your current workout as an autistic gentleman going to the gym at the moment?
Well, like I said, for me, I like to do it every day. I'm a little bit routine driven, so taking a day off is perhaps a little uncomfortable, slightly anxiety inducing. So just going every day, I always have something to look forward to. So, and I break things up real simple. Like one day I'll do just compound movement, the traditional compound movements, like deadlifts and squats and stuff like that. And then I will have, like last night was, well, I actually made it twice yesterday, and I did biceps and triceps. So one round in the morning, and it was one set of the various exercises you can do just for biceps and triceps. And I alternate back and forth. So I was like, do this bicep workout, then do that tricep workout, and then do that again. So I get 2 or 3 sets in each different type of exercise. And then when I went back that evening, I did a different set to focus on the same, different exercises, same muscle group, right? And then I'll do a day. One day I'll just be chest day, and if I get in there twice, it'll be at every different angle. I'll try and do it with dumbbells, try and do it with the bar, try and do it on the cables, or whatever. And I like the small gyms because I don't like crowds. So there's, sometimes the equipment you want to use is tied up. So if I go twice a day, I'm almost guaranteed I get to do everything I want, right? So I always just have a list of the alternate. Well, I wanted to do that one, I can't, so I'll do that over there, just to stay on that muscle group, whatever it is. and then and then another day it'll be legs. I'll do legs, all the machines, legs. And of course, it's not a big super gym. So I mean, like on the leg machines, I do the whole stack on every single one of them. So
Mhm.
because of course most of the people in the gyms like that, they're like half my size. So the equipment isn't always as quite as Bart likes to talk about this scientific strategy of just doing maximum sets of eight, do two sets of eight's the most efficient way to build muscle. And then you get in these situations where there is not enough weight that I can put on here
Mhm.
to get even
Yeah.
close to that. So then you're kind of like, I just do it till I feel like I've really hit that group, whatever it is. If I'm on the leg press, it's like, yeah, there's not enough weight on that machine. So it's like when I do that, I'm usually focused on glutes. And so it's like, okay, focus on that glute and get that thing um, to that level where you're sort of exhausting the fuel on board and you've really, pumped a lot of blood through there and stressed it, you know, a little more than you did before, right? Because those incremental increases are just, you never know exactly when they're going to happen. Like you don't
Mhm.
walk in week after week lifting more each week, right? It doesn't work that way. But there are steps in there, and you're just always kind of looking to see, hey, what can I do more or not? Can I do more or not? So
Yeah.
that's how I do it.
Yeah. The great thing about training is although there is somewhat of a scientific consensus of what might be optimal for the average person, the other aspect I think is key is that we have to enjoy it. I mean, if,
Mhm.
for example, someone is doing two sets of eight and, just an average Joe that wants to just build a bit of muscle and, eventually lose some fat, are they really going to stick to it if you're following a very strict patterned routine? I think it is very useful for athletes with very specific high end goals.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're going to take on whatever's going to be optimal, strive to it. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, sometimes I have issues with the gym where the weights aren't heavy enough. I have to do a rest pause set. So I'll do the heaviest weight, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, whatever. Then rest a bit, five more, rest a bit, five more. And I just have to do that. And, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And it sounds like what Thomas does here is that he just trains intensely. He just finds something he enjoys and does it hard, So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard because everybody is either trying to lose weight or get big for a show or whatever, and then like, well, I really just lift because I like lifting, and everybody else is discipline focused, right? And it's like talking about eat so I can lift. I don't lift so I can eat more. And
Mm.
some days I'm at that limit. Like, I don't know if I have enough time to eat enough food. So what about you? I mean, how much do you have to eat and how much you said you work out 4 or 5 times a week typically?
Yeah, so it's between 4 or 5 times a week. 90% of my workouts are to absolute failure, as in I can't safely lift another repetition on my own without wrecking my body, causing
Mm,
injuries. In terms of diet, I'd say just for the idea of like volume, like amount, I'd say at the moment I'm doing about 4,500 calories. That
mhm,
seems to be maintaining my body weight quite well. I'm at a point in my training, perhaps Thomas's as well, where in order to increase my muscle mass more, um, me eating 5,000, 6,000 calories isn't going to do a lot because I'm already near that peak muscularity. As in, I'd have to pump a load of drugs in or do something different in order to elicit more muscle growth.
mhm.
Well, that sort of train. I've been training for 14 years. It's just
Wow.
how it goes, I guess.
Right.
What do you eat, Thomas, on a given day?
I usually eat anywhere. Let's see. Let me try and metric this. I usually eat somewhere around like 1 to 2 kilos of top sirloin. Um, and then I eat a lot of shrimp.
Mm.
It's I like just like boiled shrimp. I just so I usually eat something like quarter to a half a kilo of shrimp a day, sometimes a little more, and of course the sirloin you just eat raw, and then sometimes because I'm busy, I sit in a lot of traffic to and from work, and I'm usually at work a lot. So I'm everything I do has to be prepped and portable. So I will fill in sometimes with like whey isolate or something like that, or raw eggs. Sometimes I'll just, all right, a dozen raw eggs and some collagen peptide that I got sitting in the cupboard.
Mm.
So,
Makeshift it, yeah.
and if I have to eat out, it's a burger or whatever. I just get burgers and just throw the bun away. The
Yeah.
hamburgers are on every street corner here, so it's kind of a gimme.
Mm.
So, how about you? What's your typical meal like?